Hey there, I'm genuinely glad you're here. My name is Dr. Vanessa R. Brooks. I'm a doctoral level leadership scientist, and before I teach you anything today, I want to ask you a question. How long have you known? How long have you known that what you're doing right now is not the full expression of who you are? How long have you felt that pull, that knowing that what you've built for other people is not the end of your story? I'm not asking to make you feel bad. I'm asking because that knowing is data. And today, we're going to do something with it. By the end of this masterclass, you are not just going to feel inspired. You're going to have done something real, something that actually begins to rewire your brain toward the business you were called to build. But before we go any further, I need you to do one thing for me right now. Underneath this video or in the link in the description, you will find the Founder Identity Activation System. It is a free interactive tool that I built specifically for this masterclass. I need you to open it now and keep it open in a separate tab while you watch. You do not have to do anything with it right now. Just have it ready, because at 3 specific points in this masterclass, I am going to pause and walk you through it live. And when we get there, you're going to want it already open and waiting. So go ahead and open it now. I'll give you a moment. All right, got it? Good. Now let's get to work. So before I go any further, I want to make sure I'm talking to the right woman. You are not just interested in building a business. You are willing. You are educated. You're credentialed. You've spent years building expertise inside someone else's organization. You know how to lead. You know how to execute. You know how to get results at a high level. And you are a woman of faith, but you're not confined by systems that limit your expansion. You respect research. You respect data. You think at a level that requires substance and not surface level information. And somewhere in the quiet, you know you were not built to stay where you are. Now, if that's you, I need you to stay right here, because what I'm about to share with you is going to change how you see yourself as a founder forever. Let me tell you what society has been doing to you, to all of us. For most of your life, culture, systems, and structures have been talking loudly at you, telling you where you belong, conditioning you to see yourself inside someone else's framework. So you mastered performing, you mastered functioning, you mastered delivering results at an extraordinary level. You led teams, you solved problems nobody else could solve. You executed with precision, and then you came home. And in the quiet, you felt it, a longing, a pulling, a voice that would not go away, no matter how busy you stayed or how well you performed. That voice was not anxiety, and it was not ambition. That voice was God, calling you to something that belongs entirely to you. And today, we're going to answer that call with spirit and with science. I need to make a distinction before we go any further, because this matters. When I say C-suite founder, I'm not talking about a woman with an executive title inside someone else's organization. I am talking about something completely different. The C-suite founder is the woman who owns the vision. She's not just leading departments. She's building intellectual property. She's not just managing people. She's architecting methodology. She's not just executing someone else's strategy. Oh no, she is the source of the strategy. And here is where I want you to understand. You can have decades of executive experience and still not have C-suite founder identity. Because C-suite founder identity is not about a title. It is about a neural pathway. And that is where neuroscience comes in. Now, I need you to stay with me here, because this is important. And I need you to understand this before we go any further or do anything else. Your brain is not fixed. It is not static, and it is not done growing. Neuroplasticity is the scientific term for your brain's ability to form new neural pathways, new connections based on repeated thought and action. Now, here's what that means for you practically. Right now, your brain has strong established pathways around your professional identity, around functioning inside someone else's system. But the pathways are deep, they're fast, they're automatic. But here is what the research tells us. You can build new pathways. When you repeatedly think a new thought and then act on it, your brain literally builds a new highway. The more you repeat it, the stronger and faster that pathway becomes. So what we are doing today is not just a mindset exercise. We're doing neuroscience. We're going to activate 3 specific dimensions of C-suite founder identity, and the repetition starts right now, today, in this masterclass. This is what I call the D3 framework. The D3 framework is the operating system every C-suite founder runs on. It's 3 principles, 3 neural pathways, 3 activations that, when practiced repeatedly, build the identity of a C-suite founder from the inside out. And they're not separate, they work in sequence. Divine trust comes first, always. Data follows, confirming what trust already knew. Decision comes last, and when it's grounded in trust and data, it's no longer paralyzing. Now, let me teach you each one separately. Secret number 1 is divine trust. The C-suite founder leads from faith, but I need you to understand what I mean when I say that, because this is not passive belief. Divine trust is the integration of spiritual faith and psychological self-efficacy. It is not hoping things work out. It is an active, evidence-based belief in your own capacity to produce results. In psychology, we call this self-efficacy. It is the degree to which you believe you are capable of executing what you're called to do. And here is what the research tells us. Self-efficacy is one of the most powerful predictions of human performance. More than talent, more than credentials, more than external resources. What you believe about your own capacity will determine what you build. So the woman who keeps delaying, who keeps saying she's not ready, she needs more time, she needs more proof, is not lacking talent. She's lacking an activated belief in what God already put inside of her. Divine trust says, I trust my calling before I have all the evidence. I trust my inner wisdom before I have external validation, and then I move. Before the data, before the decision, always trust. Now, remember that I told you about this tool. I asked you to open it at the beginning of the masterclass. Well, now is the time. Go ahead and pull it up. It should already be open in your other tab. If you haven't opened it yet, pause the video right now and grab the link in the description or find it around this video. I'll wait. Now, when you open it, you're going to see a welcome screen with the D3 framework explained. You're going to see 3 activations. One for divine trust, one for data, and one for decision. And we're going to walk through all 3 of these together. So click Begin Activation and go to the first section, Divine Trust. You should now be on the Divine Trust screen. You're going to see a teaching card at the top, so go ahead and read it. Now look at the question underneath. What has God called you to build that you've been delaying? I want you to answer that question right now. Not in your head, but in the tool. Type it out. Name it specifically. I'm going to pause and give you time to do that. Now, look at the second field, the action step. I will. I need you to write one thing, one actionable step that you can take today. Not this week, not when you feel ready, but today. Because this is where the neural pathway actually gets built. Not in the knowing, in the doing. So take a moment and complete that section. Now, when you have finished your divine trust activation, come back to the video and we're going to move on to secret number 2. All right. So secret number 2 is data. The C-suite founder is evidence-based. She collects data. She does research. She analyzes evidence. She does not guess and she does not assume. But I need you to understand what kind of data we're talking about. Most people hear the word data and immediately think external. Market research, competitor analysis, social media metrics. And yes, all those matter. The C-suite founder uses external data for sure, and she respects it. But her primary data source is internal. It is her intellectual capital. Harvard, Forbes, and Inc. all agree intellectual capital is a business's most valuable asset. And most credentialed women have been sitting on a gold mine of it, untapped, unnamed, and undermonetized. Intellectual capital lives in 3 domains. Human capital, your education, credentials, lived experience, expertise, and the unconscious competence you have taken for granted because it's just what you know. And then there's method capital. That's the processes, the approaches, and frameworks you use to get results. The way you move someone from problem to solution. Your repeatable system that you have never fully named. Third is relationship capital. That's your reputation, your network, the people who already trust you, and the specific person whose problem you were built to solve. That is your data set. That is your evidence base. And when it's properly extracted and organized, it becomes intellectual property. It becomes a proprietary framework. It becomes the foundation of a consulting practice that is not built on imitation, but on original construction. Okay, so now I need you to go back to the tool and click Continue to Data. You should now be on the data screen. You're going to see 3 questions, one for each domain of your intellectual capital. Human capital question: what expertise or knowledge do people consistently come to you for that you've been taking for granted? Now, I want you to take a moment and answer that honestly. Next is your method capital question. What process or approach do you use to help people get results that you've never fully named or documented? Think about how you work. Think about your repeatable process. Write it down. It's okay if it's not perfect. And then finally, relationship or relational capital question. Who are you called to serve? Who is the specific person whose problem you were built to solve? Here, I want you to be as specific as you can. Name her or him. Write it out. Take a moment to complete all 3 of these answers. What you're looking at right now, in your own words, is the beginning of your intellectual capital profile. This is real data. This is real evidence. This is the foundation. Now, when you're done, come back to the video. We have one more secret to reveal. All right, secret number 3 is decision. And this is where most credentialed women get stuck. Not because they lack information, not because they lack expertise, but because they have not fully claimed their authority. So they wait. They wait for more clarity. They wait for more time. They wait for more confirmation they cannot receive until after they move. The C-suite founder does not wait, however. She decides. And here is the neuroscience of why this matters. Every time you make a decision and follow through on it, you strengthen the neural pathways of human agency. Your brain learns that you are someone who decides and moves. That identity becomes automatic. That pathway becomes fast. But every time you delay, every time you know and do not act, you strengthen the opposite pathway, the pathway of waiting, of not yet, of almost ready, I need more time. Your decisions today are literally writing the story of who you become tomorrow. So the C-suite founder does not wait to feel ready. She decides, and readiness follows the decision, not the other way around. Now that she has divine trust, the belief in her calling, and now that she has data, the evidence of her intellectual capital, the decision is not a leap of faith. It is a logical conclusion. All right, so now I want you to go back to the tool and click Continue to Decision. You are now on the decision screen. You're going to see 3 founder decisions. I need you to choose one, the one that feels most aligned with where you are right now. Read all 3 of them and then click the one that you're committing to. Now, after you've done that, I want you to look at the declaration field at the bottom. I decide to build my consulting practice because. I want you to finish that sentence. Write it with full conviction. Say it like you mean it, because this is your neural pathway activation. This is the moment the D3 framework moves from philosophy to practice. Take a moment and complete your declaration. When you're done, I want you to now click See My Activation Summary. You should now be on your final screen. You can see everything you just activated, your calling, your first step, your intellectual capital, your data, your decision, your declaration. Look at that screen for a moment. This is not just some random worksheet. This is not a vision board. This is evidence. This is data. This is the beginning of your C-suite founder identity taking shape, built from your own data, built from your own calling, built from your own decision. One repetition, the pathway has begun. Now I want you to sit with something. You have just completed your first D3 activation. You've named your calling. You've begun extracting your intellectual capital, and you've made a founder decision. And that is powerful. But I want to be honest with you about something. What you just did is the beginning, not the finish line. You've seen what's inside of you, but seeing it is different from building with it. Because here is what comes next. Your intellectual capital needs to be fully extracted, not just 3 answers, but a complete, organized body of knowledge. And that body of knowledge needs to be organized into a proprietary framework that belongs entirely to you. And that framework needs to be positioned. You need to know exactly who you serve, what problem you solve, and how to communicate it so your ideal client immediately says, that is exactly what I need. And then your framework needs to be architected into an actual consulting offer with a diagnostic, a structure, a timeline, a price, and deliverables. That is not something that you figure out alone. That is not something a template or a course can give you. That requires expert consulting guidance and advisory. It requires evidence-based methodology. It requires 120 days of focused, intentional building. The C-Suite Founder Experience was built specifically for the woman sitting where you are right now. You have the calling, you have the credentials, you have the expertise. You've just proven that with your own hands in the tool that you just completed. What you need now is the architecture. Over 120 days inside the C-Suite Founder Experience, we move through 4 specific phases. We start with identity, because if your C-Suite Founder identity is not fully established and neurologically wired, nothing else holds. We use evidence-based CBT type tools, neuroplasticity exercises, and the D3 framework as a daily practice. This is where we do the deep inner work that most programs skip entirely. Then we extract your intellectual capital fully, professionally, and with the same rigor I used in my doctoral research. We organize it into a proprietary framework that is 100% yours. Then we define your niche, your messaging, your positioning, and your brand identity so the right people can find you and immediately recognize themselves in your work. And then we build your offer, your consulting engagement, your proprietary diagnostic, your pricing, your deliverables, your complete consulting practice ready to deploy. You do not leave with ideas. You leave with a consulting business. Now, I want to speak directly to you right now. Not to everyone watching, but to you, the woman who's willing. You already know if this is for you. You felt it before you got to this moment in the masterclass. You felt it when you were answering the questions in the tool. You felt it when you saw your own words reflected back at you on that final screen. That is not about convincing you. This is about confirming what you already know. You see, I call you the willing woman. The willing woman does not stay in analysis. She does not need to be pushed or convinced. She recognizes herself and she decides. Now, underneath this video is the application for the C-Suite Founder Experience. The application is free. You complete it and I personally review every single application. And if we are aligned, I will invite you to a discovery call. Now that call is $99, and it's a 45-minute working session where I walk you through a full debrief of where you are, what I see, and how my professional recommendations could help you. I want to show you how to move forward. And whether that's with me or whether that's not with me, I'm going to give you an honest debrief. But before you click anything, I want you to sit with one question. What is the cost of staying where you are for another year or even for another month, still knowing, still feeling it, but still not building? Because the gap is not your capability. You just proved that with your own answers. The gap is whether you're willing to move, whether you're willing to make a decision and trust yourself. And if you are, I will see you on the inside. Grace and peace and blessings. I'll talk to you soon.